after, and I'm going to go ahead and get us started. I am Taylor Welsh. I'm the CEO of Walker Tracker. We are a digital wellness and activity challenge platform. We've actually been around since 2006, and I have been with the company for almost a decade. So we have worked with Moda for, gosh, I think it's 4 or 5 years now, and we are lucky to be in the same city with them, right over a bridge. So usually I get the honor to just walk over and see them in their building, but now we're doing it all virtually. So welcome, Nicole and Lindsay from Moda. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and start with Lindsay. Would you please introduce yourself to our audience today?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much again for having us today. It's a pleasure to speak with all of you. My name is Lindsay Patience. I am a wellness advisor at Moda Health. I've been with Moda for more than 2 years now, and I help manage our internal employee wellness program, as well as offer wellness consulting for Moda's book of business and commercial.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Lindsay. And Nicole, please introduce yourself.
Well, I guess I'd say good morning because it's still morning here, but if Florida's on the line, I guess good afternoon. I also am excited to be here and thank you for the opportunity. I am in human resources. I'm a senior HR generalist, and I have been with Moda for 20 plus years. I'm hitting my 21 in just a few months, and I'm really fingers crossed, hoping it's not working from home. But yeah, and I'm part of what I focus on is benefits administration for our employees, and then partner with Lindsay on our wellness because that kind of goes hand in hand.
Awesome. Well, great. Thank you both so much again. And we're going to dive into questions. So my first one is for Lindsay here. How is COVID-19 affecting your workplace, so Moda Health, but also since you work with so many groups, culturally and in terms of wellness programs and benefits, how is it affecting the groups that you work with?
Yeah, great question. And I'm sure that's something that we're all experiencing and we're all wondering. I would say culturally, we've seen organizations really rely on wellness resources to support employees during this time. And as a result, we've made this tremendous effort to shift almost everything we've known and operated by from in-person to virtual. So leveraging any traditionally in-person activities to now online activities. We are constantly asked, how can you help us? What wellness resources do you have available? And so we're really seeing this surge in wellness utilization, which is great. I'm so thankful that we can be a part of this support system for not only our employees, but for employees at our commercial businesses as well.
Awesome. Yeah, it's interesting. I would say the same thing. Week 1 or 2, when we went into working remotely, there was definitely some uncertainty from my team. What is this going to look like for our customers? What does this look like for us? And there was about a week of silence, to be honest. And then right after that, all of our customers reached out. We want to connect our employees. We want to find ways to help them not feel isolated and lonely from home and keep them active. And so it's actually been really uplifting and inspiring to see companies actually putting this in the forefront. So I appreciate you mentioning that. Nicole, same question, and maybe a little bit more towards Moda Health, but how is it affecting the workplace?
So, really, it's just the whole fact that we went from only 30% of our employees who worked from home to now 95% of our staff is all work from home. And then, that struggle you have with connecting with your coworkers, your supervisors, your team, if you are a supervisor in the management world. And so that was a huge one, is what can we do to make sure that our staff all feel that connection? And our training team really amped up a lot of, or even just revamped and said, hey, as a reminder, we have all of these tools ready for you. Only maybe a few of you had to utilize these, but now we have a lot of us. So, hey, visit our training team, see what we have on tap for you to utilize on how to connect with your team, how to engage and such. We're sending out tons of communications on just that, daily. We have a supervisor site that supervisors can view and be like, hey, here's some top tips that, with the changes in all your staff going to work from home, what you should expect and what you can lay out to your expectations to your staff.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Communications are so important right now as we're bombarded with news, and honestly fearful news from all mediums coming at you kind of at all times. And it's really hard to mute that channel and focus on the, what do you know is true and what do you know isn't. So I really appreciate that companies and organizations such as you guys are putting it out there and really taking a forward step in front of all of that. All right, next question. And I'm going to start with Nicole this time. What actions are you and your company taking to support employees at this time? So MOTA employees.
To support our employees, like I said, a lot of that communication and really utilizing our company intranet page to share all that information. And then one of them is really just amping up all of our wellness, where we did a lot in general. That, we had on-site PE classes. We had an employee who actually is a yoga instructor, and she led lunchtime yogas on site for us. And so it was just all that kind of paused. And then one day I was like, my gym does Zoom classes. So I reached out to our yoga instructor, and she's like, heck yeah. So we did our first Zoom yoga yesterday during the lunchtime, which opened it up to our other offices that aren't, in downtown Portland. So that was a really exciting feature. And then just reminding our staff, hey, remember Walker Tracker we have? You can do individual challenges, and we have a few teams, a few employees who are setting up their challenges. Super funny story. I was reminding one of my coworkers at a different office about that we're having yoga, and she, has been in a different office, so not able to take it. And I was like, you should try yoga today. She goes, oh, I don't know. I'm in a walking steps only challenge right now, so I can't do yoga right yet. I was like, oh, okay, I forgot, we're a little competitive. So, so it's just, things like that, reminding folks about the ways we can help out in the community. We have a lot of community partners that are struggling right now with the, stay in shelter places, rules that we all have. And so we actually have a virtual walk with Meals on Heels, that we have a team that you can go in, and the goal is to try and raise, $1,000 for our team that will help support the Meals on Heels community. And we also yesterday just announced that, Giving Tuesday is coming up, and it's reminding folks that we have a volunteer program in place to help, if you're wanting to take a few hours to volunteer with your favorite nonprofit or one of our community partners, that you can do so.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I saw an email from that Meals on Wheels or Meals on Heels coming through from one of my friends that's participating. So that's super cool to hear. We have a question about it, which I will relay to the end here. But I just want to take one little piece out that I got from what you just said, which is resources, because they may look really different. We have someone on here from Scotland. So it's going to look really different from people that are in the Pacific Northwest to the United States, to Canada, Mexico, to global access to resources. But I think just being creative and thinking outside the box like you did, connecting, I have access to instructors. Would they be willing to do this on a Zoom call instead of physically come into the office? And I think there's something to that where people who may not show up to a yoga class in their office would probably do it from home. So this is actually a really interesting time and opportunity to engage people in things like yoga, Zumba, whatever kind of classes you want to offer, where they're not exposed to embarrassment or it's my first time, I don't know what I'm doing, because they're behind a screen, and they'll be watching something. So I really appreciate that. And I'm going to throw it to you, Lindsay, same question. What actions, and I'll kind of gear this one towards the groups that you work with, what actions are those groups taking to support employees right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the answer works for both. It works for what we've done at MOTA and what we see is happening with our groups, especially from a wellness perspective. We're looking at how we can keep employees engaged in their health and well-being during this time, because it can be a really challenging time for folks to remember their own self-care. So 2 things that Nicole and I did, at least for MOTA, when remote work was inevitable, was we created a healthy at home resource list. And we're now seeing a lot of our groups do this, where it's a list that can live on your company intranet that just highlights a ton of resources that are available, coming back to those fitness classes, what local studios are offering, maybe some nutrition resources, any sort of educational articles, really anything that could be valuable for someone right now. And then something else that we did that we're now seeing being launched externally is a newsletter with activities that folks can look forward to every week. So, we said, okay, this Friday we're going to have a meditation series, sign up here. And next week we're going to have an online cooking class, sign up here. And I think between the resource list and the newsletter, that's really giving folks something to look forward to, and it reassures them that we're here to support, we're in this together, and the situation doesn't look that great, but we're still finding ways to connect with one another, to take care of one another, and there's still some semblance of normalcy in our wellness programming.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, what an important thing to represent right now. Some sort of constant in this weird influx time. I'm going to keep this next question here with you, Lindsay. So let's talk about some creative ways that we can continue these wellness benefits. I know you guys have mentioned videos and online platforms, but when we had spoke originally, there was a couple things you guys mentioned that were really creative. And if there's just a couple that you've seen your groups do or that you guys are doing at Moda, I would love to hear them.
Yeah, absolutely. For any organization that's interested in offering wellness in a creative way during this time, I would start by taking inventory of what you were already doing. So what virtual resources were already available to you before all of this happened? And then look into capitalizing on them. Like maybe you'll run a walker tracker challenge or look into telephonic health coaching through your health carrier. Then you can look at what resources you can transition to virtual, and it's usually a lot easier than you think it is. So at Moda, some of the things that we've done that could be exciting to try with your own group is we've moved almost all of our workshops online, and that includes meditation classes, yoga classes like Nicole mentioned. We have online cooking classes, online craft classes, and a slew of lunch and learns that we offer. And the interesting thing about it is we've actually seen higher participation in some of these classes now that they're online than we did when they were in person.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I was just going to ask you, but you just hit the nail on the head for me, which is I wonder how this is going to increase participation because of accessibility for folks. So that's super cool. Nicole, I would really love if you would share the creative wellness experiment that you shared with me the other day.
Well, so again, I can't take credit for it, but my gym and a couple other online gyms that are, streaming gyms I've noticed have done like bingo classes or bingo cards for the gym or whatever. And I was like, what if we did it in-house? And so I was like, I'm going to start with my team, my HR team of like I think we're actually 16 now. And so I created a bingo card and I've just rolled it out. So we just started. And things that are on them, it's like cook something from scratch, read a book, watch a, 80s rom-com, take a walk, do your daily, meditation or yoga, all those kinds of things. Say hi to a neighbor as they're walking by, because if you live in this place where you can see your neighbors regularly, I stare out my living room window. I see my neighbors like walk by my house probably 7 times a day each. So it's nice, to wave at them, even from inside, just that same connection that we all are missing. I remember when this all started, it was all social distancing. And Mary Lou, who is our VP of Human Resources, she sent out an email that said, it is distancing. She goes, but let's change it. I've heard the new term is physical distancing because we can still be social with each other. We just can't be right next to each other and be social. And so I kind of like that's a good way to remind ourselves is, when your neighbors are walking by and you're, doing your yard work or you're on the street going to the grocery store real fast, you can still smile and say hi to folks. And that kind of, connection is still really could be actually something that makes somebody's day.
Yeah, I can't agree more. I'm gonna ask you if we can get the bingo card to share, and if not, I am happy to put one together and send it out to all the recipients because we're gonna do it in-house at Walker Tracker. I love your ideas. I think another one that I heard, and I believe it was on another webinar that I did, was write a letter.
Yeah, write a letter.
Yes, we have people asking for the bingo card, so we're gonna have.
I will share it later. Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, and it can totally be something you interchange out with things that are accessible to your group, but I think that's such an awesome idea. I kind of want to build it into our platform, but don't tell my developers I just said that. All right, Nicole, you had mentioned communication right off the bat, and it's so important right now. How are you connecting with employees? Like what kind of mediums are you using? Webinars, emails, communications, video chat, and how has that been successful in getting word out and keeping people's attention?
It's huge. So we switched over to Microsoft Teams right when we all started going to work from home. It just seemed a good, our IT team said that, you know, they were waiting for the perfect opportunity to make the switch, and this seemed like it. So we've used Microsoft Teams, which has been a good tool for us. Our CEO, Robert Goatee, has actually started weekly, we call them fireside chats, where he does a live chat off of Teams, and everyone who, you know, everyone can join at that same time. And he just kind of goes over what's happening with us as a company, you know, as how it affects us personally as a company, but also like is a reminder what we're out to go do for our members and our clients, because we are here to serve our, you know, members here in Oregon, you know, Southwest Washington, and like Alaska and such. And that's been really positive. He shares always a fun little tidbit about himself, which is quite entertaining as well. And which I think just kind of brings that same communication and that, you know, like community feeling you really get to know somebody better, and you feel part of something. Mary Lou True, like I mentioned, she actually has also been following up weekly with kind of like gratitude emails, or just, you know, positive emails like, hey, it's kind of, you know, things are out there, and we always send out so many things about FAQs, and here's where we are, and here's statistics. And she's kind of following up with an email. Just a reminder is, you know, like that one email is like, we're physical distancing. You can still be social. You can do Zoom birthday calls. You can, you know, use House Party, which allows you to play games. If you haven't used House Party, it's an app. It's really fun. Just all sorts of different ways to connect with each other. And, you know, just reminders that, you know, it's a big change, but it's not, you know, the end. We can get past it. We can find ways to reconnect and do what we need to do every day. Our training team is like, we have one gentleman on our training team who's like, I'm going to push the envelope and see how many trainings I can get out in a week because they're virtual and I'm not locked down to a conference room. And he goes, and then I can see what I can do when I get back to the office, and how, you know, and so we're just really kind of focusing on what we can do to stay connected with our teams. And so far it's been received quite well. Like everyone really likes the Robert fireside chats. So.
Yeah, that's something I haven't heard yet from anyone that I've spoken with. And that is a super cool opportunity for organizations where you may not interact with the CEO, or you may not interact with leadership in your company.
Mm-hmm.
What an amazing opportunity to connect with people. And one thing that I just felt through everything you just said was just this overarching hope, right? And instead of, because this fear mindset and mental health concerns right now are really top of mind for us, and just being a source of hope for people and stability is so important and key. I'm writing down a lot of the things you guys are saying so that attendees, we can send out an email that kind of gives us some highlights and some ideas. We'll of course also send out this recording, but if you're taking vigorous notes, know that I am too. It's not that I'm not looking at you guys. Lindsay, I'm going to pass it over to you, hoping you can give us some insights about the groups that you're working with and how they're communicating out to their employees.
Absolutely. And I think, to Nicole's point, everything that she mentioned is what we're seeing internally and externally. And I'd say in addition to that, just trying to leverage every channel of communication that you can right now at a very foundational level. We're pushing out educational resources, articles folks that can read, or articles for folks that they can read, just so that we can get their attention on a very basic level. And then if you're looking for something a little bit more direct and personal, we're arranging virtual workshops, hosting challenges, answering individual employee questions, and gathering their feedback on activities. And so I think at a time when face-to-face communication is really limited, trying to optimize as many different modes of communication is going to be key.
Yep, because everyone wants to receive it in a different way. And what a joy that is to be the person that has to send it out through 15 different mediums. But there's always a way to reach people. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Nicole, Oh, we're getting to the end. And these are the two questions that actually we kind of brought up together on the call. But what do you believe will be the lasting change or a lasting change from this pandemic? And what do you hope will be a lasting change from this pandemic?
They're kind of both one and the same. I think folks will really recognize that you can get just as much connection and work done in a conference call or Zoom or Teams, video chat meeting versus in person, which, and then that flip side of it is, like, I think one of the very first emails that might've gone out is, when we were still kind of that very first week where you could still be in the office, but you weren't supposed to gather more than so many folks. So then that first email went out like, are you really necessary at that meeting? If it's not a big, or can you call in if your presence is not needed? And I'm thinking that might carry forward as folks have really realized that, they can manage their time. Maybe I can just be invited via a conference and my presence isn't necessary, but I can still get the information and participate. And then my flip side for that is kind of the same thing with like our trainer who is just pushing the envelope as many classes as he can train. Because we are limited, conference rooms are at a premium. And I'm sure it's not just Moda who has this problem and if we can open up that avenue, and then also if, somehow we can keep some of our fitness classes, to a virtual, that's something to work out. But we had already kind of been toying with bringing a lot of our craft and cooking classes and lunch and learns on the virtual page. And so now we know it works, it's successful. And so I can see that will be a continuum that can really bring in our other offices and plus those folks that remain as a full-time work from home.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that's an interesting point. You said something there that was basically like, we have the attention of everybody right now. Whereas while everybody's going to work and then going to the gym and then going to meet with their friends, they're going to happy hour, everyone's more or less at home right now. You have their undivided attention. And so what an interesting opportunity to start driving these wellness benefits so that when we return to work, it's ingrained. It's already something they're doing. I love that. Lindsay, same question. What do you believe will be a lasting change and what do you hope will be a lasting change? They can be one and the same or they can be different.
Right. Well, I think I'm a little biased. It's definitely a hope, but I really do believe that we'll continue to see workplace wellness as a rising priority. A global public health pandemic, say that 5 times fast, a global public health pandemic has definitely brought our personal health and wellness to the forefront of our minds. And I think a lot of organizations will be interested in continuing to support employee health and well-being in this way. And if an organization wasn't already offering wellness activities regularly, I think they'll absolutely start considering it now.
Yep, I love it. All right, our final question, then we're going to hand it over to attendees. What values have become top of mind for your organization or the groups that you work with right now? Nicole, I'll have you start us off if you want to take the Moda standpoint, but a little bit, this is kind of like the former question, but really focusing on what values, and maybe they're part of your mission already, but I know they've changed for us, so I'd love to hear from you.
I think this has really brought forth just that, we are here as a company to support our employees. It's always kind of been our values. We're a larger company now, like not as large, but compared to when I started 20 years ago, we've really increased our size, but we haven't necessarily changed our values of how we interact with our employees. We do company picnics in the summer months to gather together with our families. We have holiday luncheons. So I feel like we're there and like we're just kind of reinforcing that, this is a chaotic time for everyone. And we're here to continue to be your support. We can be your kind of steadfast that, something you're going to do every day that becomes like your normal or whatnot. And wellness is also incorporated in that. We've always kind of done it. And even like Lindsay said, like this is the time to really tell everybody we're still here. Try us out. Do those things that you didn't think you had time for. And then once, shoot, we're home long enough, you're going to make it a habit. It takes 21 days to make a habit. So, we can get everyone and they'll continue to do it when they're back in. But it's also to remember that we're here for our members. What we do matters. People are concerned. We have our customer service teams that receive a lot of calls. Our senior VP of our claims and customer service, she shared yesterday in the fireside chat how a lot of our members are just grateful that we're here for them still. So it's just kind of continuing on what we've always done. And it just kind of brings that, I think, to everyone's forefront. It makes it more obvious to our staff that this is what we've always done. And this is what we're going to continue to do.
Yep. And people will remember that. People will remember what their organization did and said during this time. That is for sure. Lindsay, same question to you, and speak from your group's perspective or speak from MODA or your personal perspective about values that have become top of mind during this time.
Absolutely. And I think similarly, this applies to MODA and it applies to our groups. As an organization and in wellness and on an individual level, I would say the focus on community has been a top value right now. MODA has always been an advocate of supporting our community, and we're finding even more solace in that right now. So the current times can feel really scary, but it's reassuring to know that we're all in this together. It might look different for everyone and it might be affecting us differently, but we're all looking to one another for hope and support during this time. So our value on community and bringing people together, especially virtually, has been really important.
Absolutely. And I realized I was trying to get everybody to share here and I just sent it to the panelists. Attendees, let's do that. There we go. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. That's all the questions that I have at the moment. So I would love to open it up to attendees. We have two professionals here in the HR benefits and wellness space. Clearly, both of them have been doing this for a long time. So if you do have any questions, want more ideas, or want to dig into something that they've already said, feel free to post it in the chat. The first question that came up a while back, I want to address. So Nicole, you spoke about Meals on Heels.
Oh, and I realize, Meals on Heels is probably more commonly known as Meals on Wheels, and it's a program that serves our senior folks and folks who just aren't able to get out of their homes a lot, meals. So MODA has been a community partner with them for years, and the reason we call it Meals on Heels is in our downtown area, we all actually will go walk up to the their cafe lunch space, and we grab their lunches and we deliver them to the homes of the seniors in the downtown Portland area. So we then kind of dubbed it Meals on Heels versus the Wheels. But it is a great program to help, get food to those seniors who just aren't able to get out of their homes as easily. And then at this time, they've just doubled their need with, especially with the recommendation that the seniors, stay home.
Yep, absolutely. So maybe what came across my email this morning is actually perhaps not the same thing. There is, and I haven't read much about it. A girlfriend of mine sent it to me. Go the Social Distance Relay. I'm going to share the link.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm going to share the link in the chat. I think it's a virtual challenge where you're basically, I think it's just a day, but it's a relay, but you're doing it by yourself, but you're doing it together virtually. So I'll just share it there. You guys can check it out. It might be something interesting for your groups. And then it actually, oddly, is tied to Meals on Wheels, which is why I was thinking that maybe that is the same.
Well, Meals on Wheels is also rolling out and it's like a month, it goes through June 30th. They're doing a month-long virtual walk because they had a fundraiser that was going to happen and obviously it had to be canceled. And so they're doing a 2-month-long virtual walk that you can join teams. MODA has a team, or you can start your own team as a family, and then you set a fundraising goal, and everyone's trying to fundraise to reach that goal. That will then help, kind of offset what they've lost in, their fundraising capabilities.
Yeah,
in a traditional fundraising capability.
Right. It is interesting because you think about all the events during the summertime here on the West Coast that are not going to happen, but that is maybe their main event. That is maybe their main fundraising event. So they're all looking, if you usually do one of the runs or the walks during the summertime and you're thinking, oh, I'm just not going to do it anymore, check it out and see if they actually have a virtual event instead, because that is probably how they're funding the rest of their activities throughout the year. So don't forget to support the organizations that you love. Question, I'm going to address this one to Nicole. What advice would you offer virtual wellness vendors as they approach HR teams like you during this time?
That's a really good question. Because I have one vendor that I connect with frequently that we're not quite using, and because part of it, she goes, you guys are doing so much already, is when they approach you, maybe have that conversation to say, instead of you telling me what you can offer me first, can the conversation be, let me tell you what I'm doing? Or the vendor say, hey, I don't want to tell you what I have. I want you to tell me what you're currently doing, and I want to see how I can help supplement, uplift. And I actually, that's what that vendor did with me. She's like, I know all the programs I can offer you, but I need to know what is going to be of use to you. And that was probably one of the most helpful conversations. One, it let me know that Lindsay and I and our other team members are doing a great job. But it also was like, I could go to my team and say, hey, next year for budgeting, this is what this vendor can offer. I think that some of these programs might be of assistance. Is it something we want to look into further? And so that's what I mean, is just ask them what they're already doing and where you can supplement.
Awesome. I love that. Lindsay, do you have anything to add on that? I know you work with a lot of wellness vendors.
Yeah, I think we've had a really great experience with, we were approached a few months ago by a vendor that offered discounts to more boutique style fitness studios. And at the time, it didn't make sense for our model. But when COVID-19 hit, they reached back out to us again and said, we know this didn't work the first time, but this is what we're offering for free during this time to try and help employees everywhere stay active. Would you like to be a part of that? And I think that was really beneficial for us, because now we're able to offer not only MODA, but all of our commercial groups discounts to online fitness classes that are happening through this link.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I've got a couple other questions coming in. Okay, let's start with you, Lindsay, because you're already on a roll. What, if I can do only one thing to help improve employee wellness, what should it be? That's $1 million question right there.
That's $1 million.
Maybe different, yeah. But I would love to hear from you first.
Sure. I kind of have two answers, but
Go for it.
I would say at least, at the very least, I think it is so helpful to put together a resource list or a newsletter like we had mentioned earlier. It's free to put together a resource list that you just source out what's happening in your community on a free or low cost level. So any fitness classes, nutritional resources. One of my personal favorite links is Happify, which is focused on stress management and resiliency. They have the cutest videos and pictures and infographics, and some fun stress management games you can play. But at a very basic level, and again, it's free, is just putting together that resource list. I think that can really help people. And if you're looking to do even more, ask people what they want to see. Sometimes we take a shot in the dark and think, hey, I think my people want a nutrition lunch and learn, but maybe what they really want is a stress management lunch and learn. So ask them. That would be my second recommendation, is just to see what they want.
Muted myself there, sorry. Yeah, I think that's really important. I think a lot of companies actually go about wellness in an interesting way, which is, I want to run a walking program, or I think that nutrition is important, so I'm going to do that. And no one else wanted to do it. So figuring out what's important to people right now and doing something around that is awesome. Nicole, do you have one or two things that you think, if you could only do one thing to improve employee well-being right now, you would launch?
I think Lindsay's best one is ask folks. I think she nailed it there. Or just encourage, just send out those reminders like, hey, do you know if you can, especially working from home. I don't know about everyone else who's working from home, but I find that apparently I don't walk as much at home as I do when I'm in the office. Maybe it's just because like the lunchroom is a lot closer than it is normally, but it's just maybe even send out reminders. Hey, get out and take a walk today. Or, you know, how many steps have you done? Like just small things that are easy for everyone to do. You know, now is maybe not the time to try and like completely change up your entire fitness strategy. But a small one is like, hey, can you take one 15-minute walk in your day? Or take a walk in the evening after dinner, you know, things like that, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Baby steps are key. And thank you, Lindsay, for sending me that. I will make sure it makes the follow-up email here so everyone has a link to Happify. Let's see here. Next question. I've got questions coming in from two angles, so apologies. My eyes going all over the place. Okay, I have a question. This person has a question for all three of us. I would like to know personally, what are you all doing outside of work to maintain your own sense of physical and mental health and wellness? That is an awesome question. Any takers? Want to start?
I'll start. So I go to a kettlebell studio gym here in Milwaukee, which is part of Portland. And they have transitioned to Zoom classes. So I've been still taking, they even let us take bells home because I'm sure it's happening all over the country where you can't find any kind of weight to anywhere. And so they allowed us to take bells home that we would need and bands. And so we're doing online classes. They have, you know, 7 days a week classes still. And then they actually even have body weight classes because maybe you didn't take a weight home. And then I've been running. I have a 13-year-old who normally is doing, you know, 2 soccer teams. And so I'm like, well, I got to keep her going too. And she also was going to do track, you know, for spring sports. So we have been running, trying like 1 to 2 times a week. We are trying to run at least 3 miles. And last night was one of our nights and I was not feeling it, even though it was my idea. And thankfully I brought her with me because when I wanted to walk, she's like, just run to the stop sign, Mom. And I did, and I made it past the stop sign even. So just, you know, those kinds of things that keep us all going, and taking the dog for a walk.
Awesome. I love it. Lindsay?
Yeah. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm finding these times I definitely need a little more attention to my own mental health self-care. And so to help with that, I've been committing to taking at least 2 30-minute walks outside a day, especially getting that fresh air responsibly, of course, staying away from people, waving to your neighbors from afar. But getting the fresh air has been really beneficial for just health and happiness overall. And then, of course, we've got some walking involved in there. But I wouldn't say it's anything lottery winning. It could be a really small thing that I'm doing, but it's helping tremendously.
Awesome. There are 2 things that have changed for me and made a huge difference. First of which, one of my developers, we all stay in touch via Slack. So throughout the day, we might be messaging each other. He created a channel called Exercise Reminders that throughout the day, I think it starts at 10:30 in the morning and ends at 4:30. There's probably 5 that pop up and give you a little notification, you know, and it's encouragement. It's like, you get after this, you've got this, and that sort of thing. And so it's just this little reminder for me, oh, I should stand up. Oh, I should go outside. Oh, I should stretch. I should do a couple squats. Whatever it is, it's just movement and like drawing your attention back to how long have I been sitting for? And I should probably move a little bit. The second one is enlisting other people. So I guess that kind of goes back to that one, but people in my community. So I have a group of friends and we've been scheduling, you know, like basically Zoom yoga or Zoom bar. So you can do it together if you don't want to do it by yourself. But then the nice thing is that they hold you accountable. So you can't not show up. And if you get there and you do the first 5 minutes and you're just like, I'm not that into it, there's a little bit of peer pressure to keep you going. A healthy bit of competition. Okay, let's do one more question. And then if anyone else has questions, definitely send them in. And then you can also send them in to the follow-up email. Pardon me, a lot of things open right now. So we've touched on this a little bit, but if you guys have anything extra to share around what other groups are doing, that would be really useful. I know that we are kind of consistently asked, what is everyone else doing on your website, or what is everyone else focusing on right now? Is it nutrition? Is it mental health? Is it physical health? So if there's one component or one specific detail that you find most groups are focusing on right now, I'll start with Lindsay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to mention 3 of the top activities that I'm seeing our groups across the board doing right now. I would say the 3 top activities are doing some sort of challenge, and then participating in a health risk assessment, and then offering some sort of educational or learning opportunity. So for the challenge, it could be anything. It could be a walker tracker challenge. One of the other things we've noticed is folks, aside from Nicole's been really great at her hydration, but a lot of folks, their hydration has gone down a little bit during this time. So maybe running a hydration challenge in Walker Tracker, or maybe a gratitude challenge, really tapping into being thankful for something every day. Something that just continues to connect people in a fun and engaging way. So we're really tapping into that social dimension of wellness there. And then as far as the health risk assessment goes, oftentimes a lot of your health carriers will offer this for free online already. So this is a really great opportunity to tap into that resource. For employees, it gives them really great baseline health information about themselves. And then for employers, if it has an aggregate report available with it, it can really provide some insight into what wellness activities your population could benefit from. And then finally, for an educational and learning opportunity, Lunch and Learns are usually free and they can be offered easily virtually. And I'd say look again to your carrier to see what they offer. Look at your community partners, see who in your community is offering something, and then even look to your staff. You might be surprised to learn that someone in your company has a background in nutrition or fitness or healthy cooking or whatever it might be, and maybe they'd be interested in sharing some tips and tricks. That's, how Nicole and I came across our yoga instructor is, she's an in-house employee that got certified in yoga, and now we're able to leverage her skills as a resource for us to provide virtual yoga classes.
Yeah, that's super cool. Nicole, same question. So I know that you're more focused inwards on Moda, but as you talk to other people that you're working with, is there anything that other companies are doing that you found interesting and would like to share?
I'm trying to think when I reach out to my coworker, my connection of friends outside of Moda, especially right now, because I feel like I don't talk to anybody else besides my children, is I'll use my spouse, for example. He's probably not the best example, but this morning he goes, why do they keep sending me these like mindful class emails? We're not in the office. So his employer is also, really focusing on the mindfulness and that, the mental health of aspect of being the times that we're in, of having to be, staying at home, the physical distancing, that's a big change for a lot of folks, and it can really, affect them. And so I remind them, I go, it's not silly. I go, it's even more important now. I go, and if you read it, they probably are offering it virtually now. It's not something you have to take in the office. And he's like, oh, okay. That makes, I guess, a little bit more sense. But so just focusing on that mental health and the mindfulness and what you can do to take time for yourself to, that self-care, which is super important.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. We're hearing from our customers. Actually, we have, as I mentioned before, a lot of customers launching programs right now, launching challenges right now, finding ways to connect people around well-being. But I think top of mind, just as a general theme, is mental well-being. And that might mean not doing something. That might mean actually creating space and allowing people to have a little bit more distance from work right now to take care of the people that are in their lives, like their kids, or if they are a caretaker. They're now balancing a full-time job with full-time caretaking. So things like that are good to consider. And then social well-being. Blanca and I actually talked about this in our last webinar, but I think now more than ever, those connections are just super important. So, if you guys, everyone that's still on the webinar, haven't taken the time to text someone that maybe you don't speak to anymore, maybe someone that's single, that lives by themselves and may not have connections to actually be within 6 feet of someone in this time, it might be nice to just shoot them a call or shoot them an email or write them a letter. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. Anything else, Nicole or Lindsay, that you guys would like to share today?
I think that's it.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. Thank you everyone for your awesome questions and tuning in with us.
And I promise I today will email the bingo card to Taylor so that she can share it out with you all today.
Awesome. Sounds good. Yes, I have a lot of notes to share with everybody, some general themes, resources. So if you haven't made a resource page yet, I will share out the ones that are pretty much free across the board for web platforms and such. So you're welcome to share ours or just take from it. We want the resources out there, so don't feel bad about borrowing anything. And then I'm going to pose a couple of questions because I would love to hear from everybody here what they're focusing on, because I think collectively we can do a lot better than on individual little silos. So thank you everybody so much for joining, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.